For the record, my name is Brian Worrell, District 4 City Councilor, and I am the Chair of the Boston City Council Committee on Ways and Means. Today is May 2nd, 2024. This hearing is being recorded. It is also being live streamed at boston.gov/city-council-TV and broadcast on Xfinity Channel 8, RCN Channel 82, and Fios Channel 964. The Council's budget review process will encompass a series of public hearings beginning in April and running through June. We strongly encourage residents to take a moment to engage in this process by giving testimony for the record. You can do this in several ways. 1, attend one of our hearings and give public testimony. We will take public testimony at the end of each departmental hearing and also at 2 hearings dedicated to public testimony. The full hearing schedule is on our website at boston.gov/council-budget. Our scheduled hearings dedicated to public testimony are Tuesday, May 28th at 6 p.m. You can give testimony in person here in the chamber or virtually via Zoom. For in-person testimony, please come to the chamber and sign up on the sheet near the entrance. For virtual testimony, you can sign up using our online form on our Council Budget Review website or by emailing the committee at ccc.wm@boston.gov. When you are called to testify, please state your name and affiliation or residence and limit your comments to a few minutes to ensure that all comments and concerns can be heard. 2, you can email your written testimony to the committee at ccc.wm@boston.gov. Or 3, submit a 2-minute video of your testimony through the form on our website. For more information on the City Council budget process and how to testify, please visit the City Council's budget website at boston.gov/council-budget. Today's hearing is on dockets number 0670 through 0672. Orders for the FY25 operating budget, including annual appropriations for the departmental operations, for the school department, and for the other post-employment benefits. Docket number 0673 through 0675. Orders for capital fund transfer appropriations. Docket number 0676 through 0678. Orders for the capital budget, including loan orders and lease purchase agreements. These matters were sponsored by Mayor Michelle Wu and referred to the committee on April 10, 2024. The focus of this hearing will be to discuss the FY25 budget for the Office of Human Services, the Office of Returning Citizens, and the Office of Early Childhood. Today, I'm joined by my colleagues in order of arrival, Councilor Flynn, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Santana, and the Vice Chair of the committee, Vice Chair Pepin. I would like to now introduce today's panelists testifying on behalf of the administration, Chief of Staff of Returning Citizen, Chief Montgomery, Senior Advisor for Early Childhood and Director of the Office of Early Childhood, Senior Advisor McSwain, and Chief of Human Services, Chief Massa. The floor is now yours.
Great. Good afternoon, and thank you so much, Chairman Worrell. Thank you for being here today and having us, and thanks to other members of the council who are also here. Councilor Murphy, Councilor Flynn, Councilor Pepin, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, and Councilor Santana. For the record, my name is Jose Massa. I am the Chief of Human Services. It's a pleasure to be here today to represent the Office of Returning Citizens, along with my colleague, Ashley Montgomery, who's actually the Interim Executive Director at the Office of Returning Citizens, also known as ORC. I'm also joined by Kristen McSwain, the Director of the Mayor's Office of Early Childhood. I will quickly go through an opening statement, and then we'll hand it over to Ashley to introduce herself to you all. Then we will turn the program over to Director McSwain for her opening statement. The Human Services Cabinet, as you know, is made up of 6 departments: Boston Centers for Youth and Families, Boston Public Library, Age Strong Commission, Office of Veteran Services, Office of Returning Citizens, and the Office of Youth Engagement and Advancement. Today's hearing will cover the budget and programming for the Office of Returning Citizens, or ORC. All of the other departments in our cabinet have their own hearings scheduled in the coming weeks. Boston Centers for Youth and Families and Boston Public Library have a hearing next Tuesday, May 7th at 10 a.m. Veteran Services has a hearing scheduled for 10 a.m. on May 16th. And our Office of Human Services, Age Strong, and the Office of Youth Engagement and Advancement are scheduled for a hearing on Thursday, May 16th at 6 p.m. Looking at ORC year in review. So the Office of Returning Citizens is dedicated to providing services and support to residents who are returning from incarceration. We estimate that roughly 3,000 individuals return to Boston each year after serving their time in county, state, or federal facilities. In the 2 years that I've been in this role, ORC has seen significant growth in its budget and staffing. Currently, ORC has 8 staff and is hiring for 2 vacancies. Next fiscal year, we hope to add another case manager to increase our capacity. The ORC serves 2 roles in the reentry space. First, we are a resource and referral center for residents who are returning home. ORC is often the first point of contact that returning citizens have with the city, and we want to provide a safe, welcoming environment to those who reach out. Second, ORC is a funder of other programs that serve returning citizens. We have been working intentionally to identify needs and fill gaps in the service network, and we also strive to build bridges between service providers. On the service case management side of the house, ORC saw approximately 600 clients this past year. We currently have a caseload of 60 clients that are now engaged in case management services with one of our 3 case managers. Bob Turner and Lucinda Correa do a great job of being the first point of contact for many of our residents who are returning home after incarceration. They do the intake of clients, assess them for their needs, and refer them to partner organizations that might be a good fit. They also help to determine if clients are good candidates for the case management program at ORC, which provides more intensive support to folks who are ready to put in the time and effort. In addition to the 3 case managers, Devad McCoy, Rochelle Hypoletti, and Dominique Chanza, this year we've added a housing specialist, Sandy Claremy, and an employment specialist, Khalid Mustafa, to provide specialized support in those 2 key areas. Sandy has already made a big difference in helping the team to connect clients to housing opportunities, and Khalid is building a database of Corey-friendly businesses that we can use to refer folks for jobs. On the grant side of the house, we have so far granted out over $700,000 from our operating budget this year, and we have a mini grant opportunity out right now that will push out an additional $80,000 to $100,000 in time to support summer programming. In FY24, we focused on 2 areas of investment that returning citizens identified as being especially important to them. The first area is health and wellness, specifically mental health. We granted out $204,000 to 15 grantees to build capacity in this area with a focus on funding organizations that are run by formerly incarcerated individuals. These funds help pay for support groups, fitness opportunities, and counseling for returning citizens. The second big focus this year was on housing. We know that housing continues to be an enormous area of struggle for many of the families in Boston, and formerly incarcerated people face the biggest hurdles in obtaining stable housing. This year, we developed 2 programs to help respond. The first is the ARPA Rapid Rehousing Program. That is the result of an earmark thanks to Council President Louis Jean. Through this program, we allocated $1.1 million in funds to 3 different organizations: Dorchester Bay Economic Development Corp., Justice for Housing, and Charlestown Adult Education. So far, 162 clients have been served by the program since it started in January 2024. In addition to the Rapid Rehousing Program, we are partnering with the Boston Housing Authority to receive 50 vouchers over a 3-year period for returning citizen clients. Vouchers allow recipients to pay no more than 30% of their income towards the rent. The Boston Housing Authority has agreed to give the ORC vouchers for clients as long as the ORC provides necessary wraparound services through our case management program. To date, 21 referrals have been made to BHA, and 5 clients have received vouchers. Finally, ORC continues to invest in a broader ecosystem of programs that offer support to Boston's formerly incarcerated residents. This year, we granted out $500,000 to 31 nonprofits that serve returning citizens. This funding is being used to support financial coaching, job readiness, transitional and permanent housing, education, Corey sealing and expungement, community building, art and creative expression, family reunification, and more. We are proud of the work that the office has been doing and want to close by thanking those of you who were able to join us for our Second Chance Month celebration on Tuesday. It was a joyous event, and many of the vendors we worked with to provide services for the event were returning citizens themselves, helping us make the point that everyone is deserving of another chance. With that, I will close and turn it over to Ashley Montgomery to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, Councilor Worrell and other members who are here with us today. My name is Ashley Montgomery. I'm the Interim Executive Director for the Office of Returning Citizens. I've been with the office since December of 2023. I started off as the Chief of Staff and became the Interim Executive Director in January of 2024. Prior to my role with the Office of Returning Citizens, I worked with the state for the last 13 years in various capacities. I was with the Bureau of Substance Addiction Services as their Director of Regional Operations, with the Department of Mental Health as their Director of Data Analysis and Quality Management, in addition to with the Department of Corrections as their Reentry Program Coordinator. My passion is really criminal justice, which is what led me to this role. My brother is a formerly incarcerated individual who served 20 years behind the wall and has been out for the last 7 years. So my passion runs deep. I'm interested in supporting individuals that are formerly incarcerated, and thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. So I have a set of, there they are. So for the record, my name is Kristen McSwain. I'm the Director of the Office of Early Childhood. We're a relatively new office. We were founded in 2022, and we have five staff members, and that includes me. Our goal is to be sure that every child in the city of Boston has access to high-quality early education and care, that their parents have access to the resources they need to provide their child with a safe and supportive environment and to be their child's first teacher, and that we're really thinking about the opportunities we have as a city to help families make healthy connections amongst themselves and also with other families in all of our public spaces. So thinking about our playgrounds, our parks, our libraries, all the different spaces that they may come into interactions with each other. In the past year, the bulk of our funding through the office is invested in the Child Care Entrepreneur Fund. What you see on the slide shows the progress of the fund from FY20 until FY23. We've made a great deal of progress over that time period. We've invested in training 409 entrepreneurs in English and in Spanish. When they finish, they are given a grant award to invest in their business and help improve the quality. To date, 365 people have graduated, and we've given over $1 million in awards to those entrepreneurs. This year alone, we've trained 98 entrepreneurs, 60 of them in Spanish, and we've awarded $303,000 in grant funding. In addition to the work that we do in our office, we do a lot of work across the city, working with other agencies. 3 of the partnerships that I would highlight, one is from the Boston Public Health Commission perspective. They also focus on supporting family child care, not just in the sustainability piece, but really thinking about quality and thinking about providing those entrepreneurs with training in nutrition, in growth and movement. So we've been partnering together to continue that training in English and in Spanish, and also to take it to the next level. So this year we're working together on a farm-to-table nutrition program for family child care providers. The other thing that we do in terms of partnership, as you know, is partner heavily with BPS, and the other day we were here to talk about UPK, and I'll talk about that again in a moment. But we also partner with Countdown to Kindergarten because it is the entree point for many of our families into our BPS system and learning more about how our city works. It's their welcome to kindergarten, whether they're coming in as a K-1 student or a K-2 student, really helping them think about their choices and navigating the choices for public schooling for themselves, and really celebrating when they join. So we've been doing a lot of work together with them, and then the next couple of months will be focused on their playgroups, which serve babies to 2-year-olds. The other partnership we have, as I said, is with Universal Pre-K. Last year's investment of $4 million in the operational budget helped us to continue to expand UPK programming. This year, that budget has actually transitioned over to BPS and is continuing in that fashion. And then the last thing that we've been doing over the past year is launching our Great Starts platform, which is allowing parents to find and enroll in opportunities for childcare. There are 807 childcare options for families with children from birth to 5 on the platform. And to date, we've had 1,432 people apply for their UPK opportunity using that application. So that's just a little bit about what we've done in the past year and how we've spent the money, and I'm going to turn it back to you for questions.
Thank you. Now I'll turn it over to my council colleagues for questions. Just want to acknowledge that we've been joined by Councilor Weber. Councilor Flynn, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to the panelists for being here, for the important work you're doing. Thank you for the informative information you provided. Thank you, Ashley, for highlighting the important role Office of Returning Citizens play in your experience as well, working on this issue. I had the opportunity prior to this job to work as a probation officer and worked closely with returning citizens at Superior Court as well. And one of the issues I found most troubling was when returning citizens would come out of jail or prison, simple tasks like getting a birth certificate was challenging, and or identification was challenging. And if the individual didn't have that type of document, it would be very difficult for them to enroll in programs and services. The other aspect I wanted to highlight is the importance of CORI reform. I know Governor Patrick did a lot of work on CORI reform in the legislature, made great progress on it. Certainly more can be done. I just wanted to get your thoughts on what we're doing in Boston in terms of hiring returning citizens. I think they have an important role to play in our city, and I agree with you. They're entitled to come back to Boston to try to raise their family, to try to get a job, to try to get into a training program, and they deserve an opportunity to be successful and happy like all of us. What are some of the programs or employment programs maybe that the City of Boston offers?
So recently, actually, on April 17th, we did host in conjunction with the City of Boston Office of Human Resources. We hosted a hiring event, which Parks and Recreation was represented, ISD was represented, OHR was represented, in addition to also Boston Public Health Commission was represented. So there was an opportunity to do some resume workshops. So there was preparation for that event, in addition to getting people clothing. So we worked with Dress for Success. We worked with ABCD just to get people clothing so that they were ready for the event. When they came to the event, we actually helped them apply for opportunities and then kind of allowed them to talk directly to some of the City of Boston employers. So that's one initiative that we kind of have going. We're still spearheading a lot of different things. Our employment specialist actually began on December of 2023, actually the same day that I started, and is kind of ramping up and doing different things to ensure that we are getting people that are formerly incarcerated employment opportunities, whether it's with the city or with the City of Boston or externally in City of Boston employers within other employers within the City of Boston. So that's kind of where we are and where we're heading. We're looking at hosting more resume workshops. So that is kind of coming on the pipeline. In addition to just having support workshops in general to talk about what exactly do people need to ensure that we're helping them and assisting them with employment in addition to other things that they might need for support. So that is what we've been doing in a nutshell, and still more to come.
Well, thank you, Ashley, and thank you for your commitment to this important work, and appreciate the professional way you've been working in that department. So I just want to say thank you. Also, just wanted to highlight my friend and colleague that did a lot of work on this as well. Councilor Michael Flaherty did a lot of work on CORI reform. And then maybe I'll ask one quick question on early childhood services to Kristen. Many working parents don't make a lot of money, huge income. Any type of financial assistance that the city is providing to help working families that are struggling with child care to pay it? What are some of the programs that you might offer?
So the program that we're offering that addresses the affordability piece is really universal pre-K and expanding from 4-year-olds to include 3-year-olds. So that's one piece. We also have an investment from the federal government that we received last year. It's federal line item funding for vouchers for homeless children. So we have been investing $1 million in that way, but it is a narrowly defined, very specific population. So those are really the two ways. Otherwise, one of the things we are hoping to do with Great Starts is identify for parents the different kinds of childcare, because they don't all cost the same amount. And so what are the benefits maybe of a family childcare setting? What does a center look like? What are the different kinds? And then you could find the piece that best meets your needs.
I visited, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, down in the South End, the Ellis Early Learning Center program. And I was talking to Lauren, who's the director down there, and I thought she told me they have a sliding scale depending on what your income is, which I think is a good idea. What is the typical child care cost for a child to put someone into a program? Probably depends, but they're pretty expensive though, aren't they?
It depends greatly. For an infant and toddler, it can be as much as $25,000 a year, depending on the setting that you've enrolled them in. Some of our families, therefore, do part-time, and so they are doing maybe 2 days a week in a setting that's more formal, and then a couple of days a week, one of the parents in a two-family household may stay home. These are the things that we learn through the child care survey every year. So one of the reasons that we launched Great Starts was that parents articulated really a great need to be able to find it, and then once they've found it, to be able to find the one that they can afford that best meets their needs. Particularly as the child gets older and they have a need for before and after school care, it is quite expensive.
Mm-hmm. Well, just want to say thank you to the administration team for the important work that you're doing. Mr. Chair, I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, Council Flynn. And actually, I just want to apologize. What I have here is Chief of Staff, but apologize for the title. Council Fernandez-Anderson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had some quick questions from the RFIs, the responses from the RFIs, and I guess I'm trying to figure out like which department it covers, because it doesn't necessarily, it's just like Office of Human Services. But when I ask, I guess we can figure out like which department. So for, your cabinet, it's a cabinet, right? Your cabinet is majority BIPOC, which reflects the city's demographic, but it doesn't, but your upper management makes up 40%. It doesn't like basically your upper management does not reflect your staff. So although it's a majority BIPOC, your upper management is majority white. So I was just wondering, like, in terms of, hiring and upper management and positions available, I see that your chief of staff position is actually open. How have we improved in terms of upper management salaries, folks, making sure that that's diverse as well?
Sure. I think our budget is reflective of many other sub-budgets as well. And so in addition to Office of Human Services, we have Office of Returning Citizens, we have the Office of Youth Engagement and Advancement, we also have Christian's shop as well, Community Safety, and was it Children in Schools, and one more, Youth in Schools, and then Tanya's old one. Anyway, so I'm just sharing that just in broader perspective in terms of it captures many other departments that aren't under direct leadership from OHS. However, for the three ones in OHS, our office, which is led by myself, Ashley, who's heading up the Office of Returning Citizens, and then the Office of Youth Engagement and Advancement is a is a person of color who's leading up that office as well. So we're really intentional about leadership and reflecting every single level of the staffing throughout the department. So I think, again, that's just the three that I mentioned that are directly underneath my purview. The other ones do capture other offices as well. So I don't know if you want to answer what is that you're doing in the end, but I mean, Kristen is leading up her office, and but she definitely has a diverse workforce, to my understanding too. Yeah.
Yeah, in my office, we have 4 additional folks to me, and I think we listed them on the, in terms of their language proficiency, so a native Spanish speaker, a native Spanish-French speaker, an Arabic speaker, and a Haitian Creole speaker. We did not list their diversity ethnically.
Okay, no worries. I guess I was just comparing, like, the ratio just doesn't reflect the population. So, for example, 70% BIPOC, but your upper management is the highest paid people, 40% white, but white population only makes up 26%, so it did not match the population. So I was just wondering, like, in terms of efforts to doing that, but it sounds like you're working on that, if you're highly, highly diverse. And are there any types of, like, workforce development to bump people up into leadership roles, or is that even possible with such a small cabinet?
Yeah, we do have a small cabinet with limited positions. However, we're definitely very intentional about creating opportunities for those that are closer to work. As you heard Ashley's opening in terms of the reason why what brought her to the work. Myself, I think I've shared it time and time again. Pedro Cruz, who heads up the Office of Youth Engagement and Advancement, was a practitioner. He was somebody who was definitely in the work of youth development prior to coming into his new role. In addition, we partnered with recently with the Office of Human Resources for a training opportunity for both experienced managers and new managers. And so this is, again, very intentional about professional development, about applying new skills, new learning opportunities as well.
Thank you so much. I wanted to thank you for your collaboration with Success Link in terms of the interns, the youth interns. We have a homework heroes program, and it's been wonderful. Just hoping to get more kids involved. We only have like 4 at a time, but would love to increase those numbers. And there was some, like, the bureaucracy is still pretty slow. So if we can talk about that offline too, if that's okay with you, for us to work on figuring out, like, what, where are the kinks in the bureaucratic process with hiring youth.
Yeah, love to learn more for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your citywide org chart doesn't work, and we asked for salaries for your org chart attached to the names, and they're not here. Could you submit them, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Also, in your breakdown of your budget, special appropriations, $4 million. Can you break that down for me? What is that?
I think that's from last year, and that's the UPK money, but we have not requested that again this year. That's been requested through the BPS budget.
Oh, I see. Contracts? It's
Yeah.
a breakdown from description, office materials. It goes all the way down. Last item, 56200, special appropriations, $4 million expended. And I just want to know where did it go?
Yeah, that's the UPK budget. So it's done as a grant to BPS.
Oh, I see. Thank you so much. In terms of, how has the hiring of the child care housing manager contributed to family-friendly community development projects and the expansion of family child care, particularly in ensuring affordable housing options for all constituents?
So one of the things that Panina, who is our child care housing manager, is focusing on is working with both the BHA and our affordable housing property managers to educate them on both the allowability of family child care, because some of our property managers think that because it's a business, it's not allowable. But there's actually documentation from HUD that not only is it allowable, it is an encouraged benefit. So a piece of the work that she's been doing is working with them closely to help alleviate some of those barriers. So we've got 5 different property managers who have agreed to walk through this process with us, and we're unpacking the institutional barriers they have for allowing that type of business in their housing complexes. At the same time, we're doing that with BHA and really focusing on the developments where they would like to see, based on the number of young children, additional family childcare. It benefits the folks who live there, but it also is beneficial to the person who's running the business. It is a micro enterprise and allows them to begin to accumulate assets.
Thank you. That's my time, so I'll wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Murphy, the floor is
Thank you.
yours.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here. And thank you, Ashley. The city is definitely, we're lucky to have you, and so thank you. And I'm happy that you're in this new role. It's new all around, but to shift you over. So I can tell that your boss supports you, so I'm happy to see that.
For sure.
We talked the last couple years, and the conversation about, do you invest before or do you invest after? And it was, around should we put more money into black male advancement? Should we try to focus more if we have to make a choice? My answer is to put it into both, but do we want to focus more on preventing people going in? But obviously there are people in and they're going to come out, hopefully, right? So we have to make sure that we're also supporting your side. One question I have is, if I was a returning citizen, how do I know about your department? How do I know that you're there to support me?
Yeah, so we actually we've built a supportive network. So we do work with Black Male Advancement in collaborative efforts. So recently we had a resource fair with Black Male Advancement. But in addition to that, we work with Suffolk County jails, we work with other prison systems, we work with probation. So people are well aware of the work that we're doing. We also have a big network of community partners that kind of work with us and bring individuals up to us for supportive services. So we have that. We're expanding. We're looking to, we're in the process of hiring a community engagement specialist in order to kind of let people know what the office is doing and the work that we're doing and the importance of the work that we're doing. But yeah, we're definitely in the community. We're ensuring that people know about us. We're hosting panels so that people know the resources that we provide. So yeah, and Thursdays we have open office hours that people come up and utilize our resources.
That's good. And you obviously work closely. A lot of these conversations and these budget hearings is your department obviously needs to work closely with employment, with housing and all of that. So making sure that you have the support, because in the budget season, it's making sure that we're putting the money where it needs to be. And so those relationships, are they good for you? And to make sure that you're connecting with all the other departments that obviously are needed to support our returning citizens? Yeah,
for sure. I definitely feel like we have the support. And as I said, we've been building amazing networks within the city, other city agencies, in addition to Workforce Development, Office of Housing, as I mentioned, Black Male Advancement, Office of Youth and Engagement. We definitely are building different networks.
Awesome. No, that's great. And if there's anything more you need, it's important that, because it's like pay now or pay more later, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, we're going to be paying, so if we can set them up for success, it's wonderful. And I like that you already mentioned, the clothing and the resume work, all of that's important, so thank you for all that.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. One thing on early childhood, you're a small office, obviously a big need. I think most parents, when they get out of that phase, it's like you survived the daycare phase. I have 4 children who are adults now, but it's hard, and there's a need, and as it's more expensive, we know that all families, if not most, not all, but most families that used to maybe have split schedules or part-time work, both parents have to work full-time, so we're seeing the need increase. One thing on the goals, if you could just speak to what it is you do, because you talked about providing safe, supportive environments, so you're supporting the parents so that they can also do their work at home, but what does that look like?
So one of the things that we do is work really closely with Countdown to Kindergarten. Since COVID happened, they were not able to operate their playgroups in schools. So over the past year, we've been working with them to find new sites, to be standing them up again, to be advertising them to be, for parents. We've been working with some students from Northeastern who created a developmental handbook for children age 0 to 3 that really is sort of a take-home DIY. Here's an educational toy that you can make out of things around your house, but then here's how you use it to help with fine motor skills, to help with gross motor skills, the kinds of developmental activities that maybe parents don't know about but could benefit from. So we've been working with Countdown and the Boston Family Engagement Network to roll that out in 10 languages in their playgroups as really a touch point for families as we connect them to other things. So that's one way. We also are working on a round table with the Harvard Center for the Developing Child around the impact of climate change, specifically heat, on infants and toddlers and pregnant people, because they actually suffer more from the impacts of high heat. And so this summer we're going to be rolling out a couple of pilot programs to really think about how, when we have a heat emergency, we're working with those families. So thinking about some of those things that we can develop and then take to scale across the city.
Thank you. The second one, affordable, high quality. How do we charge that, or what do we pay on the city end to make it affordable?
Yeah, so that's what I was talking about with Councillor Flynn. Really, the investment we're making in affordability and quality is around UPK. We started out with 4-year-olds. We're moving into 3-year-olds. I think a piece of what's really important in the UPK setting is it is focused on quality. So thinking about having a bachelor's level educator, providing coaching from coaches who know the curriculum but also know early childhood development. We partner with BPS to ensure that all of our classrooms, whether they're in BPS or outside of BPS, are NAEYC accredited, so they're meeting those high standards. That's really the way that we've been focused on doing that work and expanding. We're now up at 1,500 children, ages 3 and 4, in the city of Boston. Obviously, we still have some room to grow in that space, but
And are you
continue.
providing locations to help them get their NAEYC accreditation?
Yes,
Supports,
that's
like
part of
grants and-
that's part of the coaching. So when you become a UPK program and you are receive that opportunity, one of the first things that you agree to is to use our curriculum, to get coached on our curriculum, and to, if you're not NAEYC accredited, to get that accreditation, and we support them with the sort of walkthroughs, looking at the checklist, all the things that you have to do to pass. We also pay for it.
Awesome. So it can get done. Thank you. I heard my buzzer.
Thank you, Council Murphy. Council Santana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Chief Mosso, and your team for being here. This is, I'll start with you, Director Montgomery. You know, I had the opportunity of joining you all this past Tuesday, your second chance celebration, and it was a great honor for me to see you on the ground in community in Roxbury, doing the amazing work that you all do. So thank you. You know, I've had the opportunity to speak to a few returning citizens who've actually been connected to your office, and I've still expressed, you know, concerns of, you know, employment and not being able to find employment, and would want to ask you in terms of like the data that you're collecting, what type of businesses, are there any type of specific businesses across the city that are very open to, you know, employing returning citizens, and how have we been able to build those relationships and then try to look outside of those businesses who are already helping in that area? How are we being proactive of educating other businesses or reaching out to other businesses to do this
Yeah,
work?
for sure. That's actually in the pipeline. So I'm actually working with our employment specialist, who, as I mentioned earlier, is relatively new. So we're working together to create a pipeline to ensure that we're getting people employed and know the employment opportunities within the city of Boston. In addition, we're also working with the Office of Economic Development. opportunities, sorry, to look at what agencies actually are Corey friendly and how we can create that pipeline for people that are formerly incarcerated. So those are things that are in our purview, and we know that is really important for the people that are returning from incarceration.
Absolutely, thank you. Appreciate that. And I heard you earlier. You talked about the different offices that you've been working with, and you mentioned the Office of Youth Engagement as one of them. And can you just speak to? And I don't know if you have data with you in terms of just the breakdowns of the people who are coming to your office and the age bracket. Are young people coming to you? Or are you serving majority older people?
So the reason of why I'm looking to work with OYA, and also I actually recently made a connection with DYS, is because coming into this role, I realized that the majority of people that we are serving are actually older individuals, right? And so I am from the thought that we really need to be connecting with the people as they're in the younger age. So my thought is, as we get further and as I'm working with DYS, that we work with more youth agencies to ensure that we're creating opportunities for youth and not setting them for failure, but setting them up for success. So that's kind of one of the things that are in the pipeline and why I'm kind of connecting with all these different offices, in addition to OYA and DYS and other agencies within the city of Boston, whether it's ROCA or even Power Corps or any other agency.
Absolutely. No, thank you. It's no secret to anyone that youth is my priority, and please count on my support whenever those conversations and programming happens. Great. So. Director McSwain, thank you so much for being here and the work that you do. I think one of my colleagues, Councilor Murphy, mentioned, how small you are and the capacity and versus the demand, right? And want to talk about. I've done a lot of work in this space of just like meeting with different community groups, and there's obviously certain neighborhoods in the city of Boston that. Parents will have to travel further for childcare. How, with the limited capacity that you all have, talk to me about how you prioritize, the different needs, the different neighborhoods, the different demands when it comes to that approach.
Sure, and I guess I should mention as part of my answer that the activities I talked about today are the ones that are on our operational budget. We also have a number of activities that are grant funded, a number of them that this council funded through the use of ARPA funding. And then we also have a number of partnerships that we're just doing with other city agencies. So I talked a little bit about BHA and really looking at our supply and demand data, because we have data that's broken out by neighborhood and by age of child, 0 to 2, 3, 4, and 5, about where the seats are, where it's available for parents, and whether or not we need to build more supply in those areas. So one of the things that we have been doing, and this year we have funded another 40 entrepreneurs to open their own family childcare, and those are spread across the city. They're primarily in English and Spanish, although we are adding another cohort in Haitian Creole. So really thinking about highlighting those small businesses as an opportunity, as I said, for economic mobility on behalf of the entrepreneur, but also to serve their community, and to do so in a really deep linguistic and cultural way. So that's one. The other is that we've been partnering with OEOI to, as part of the space grant process, childcare was one of the priorities, if you will. So in round one, there were 3 different providers who were selected. In round 2, there were an additional 3. And so those are people who either ran a family childcare and want to run a center, and so they've done that, or they are folks who have a center and they're replicating another one. So again, the strategy there is to have a small business that's serving a particular neighborhood demand. We've seen those open so far in Roslindale, in Mattapan, in Dorchester, and the others are still looking for a space, but they will be local to the community that they're serving.
Great, thank you. Dr. McSwain, in terms of, I know you're in a new office, and I have experience. I mean, I was former director of civic organizing, opening a new office. How are you measuring success, or is there any plans of
Yeah.
of that data. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. We're measuring success in a couple of ways. One is the number of seats that we're able to work with BPS in to expand UPK. The addition of new family childcare across the city, but we've also developed a family childcare roadmap that knits together all the opportunities, and along the way, we're looking at the progression of people from the beginning, which is when we support you to get your license and open, to you taking our financial training and our marketing and communications training through the Child Care Entrepreneur Fund, and then moving into the Boston Public Health Commission, really quality and ages and stages.
Great. No, that's great. Thank you so much. And I hear my buzzer, but just really want to thank you three for being here, and Chief Marshall, just really admire the work, the leadership that you always provide. And I think as one of my counselor colleagues mentioned, I think it is very well noted that how much you support your staff and how much they also respect you. So thank you for all the work that you all do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Want to acknowledge that we've been joined with our council colleague, Councilor Durkin. Vice Chair Pepin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. To the Chief, it's good to see you here. Director Montgomery, it's good to meet you today. And Director McSwain, it's good to see you as well. I'm a big fan of the work all three of you do. Just your offices have been doing such amazing work since I've known you all. And just to reiterate what my colleagues have mentioned, Chief, you do a good job with that cabinet. So looking forward to having this conversation. In my district, there's a lot of growing families, and luckily we have seen the opening. I've been to already 2 ribbon cuttings, one in Rosendale and one in Mattapan, for beautiful early childhood centers and UPK classrooms and just daycares. They've been amazing, which leads me to my question: Are we keeping up with the demand of UPK classrooms in the city?
So I think the answer to that, given that we're focused on quality, is probably no. I think the answer to that in terms of our capacity to deliver with quality, the answer is yes. If you look back at our history, when we first started UPK in 2019, we had 450 young people in classrooms. We now have 1,500 in 57 partner organizations. That's tremendous growth. And I think part of what we want to do is open access and affordability, but we cannot take our eye off quality. And that is the piece that's been fundamental to UPK since it started and is really important for our young people.
Yeah. With does your office at all track not only how many students are in UPK classrooms, as you just mentioned, or there's approximately 1,500 in 57 different programs? Do you have access to the number of how many families are still missing out on an opportunity?
So we have a couple of different ways that we look at that data. And I'm hoping, so Great Starts has started with UPK as the enrollment platform. This fall, we will add BPS enrollment to the same platform. What that is going to allow us to do is see where people are applying, what their patterns of choice are, but also who doesn't get what they chose. So that we can see where we're not meeting the need by school, but also by neighborhood. So some of that data we have access to. Some of it is a combination of using census data, and that's not always 100% accurate.
Right. I'm listening to this, and it makes me think about the articles that are coming out that families are leaving Massachusetts and Boston. But it looks like we still have families that are in demand of sending their kids to UPK. Have you seen an uptick in families as we continue to increase our UPK programming?
Yes, we have. I mean, there are lots of families who would like to participate in our program. That's super exciting because it means there's lots of families who do want to stay. This is, for many families, their home. For our newcomers, it's a place that they have been welcomed. So people do want to stay here, and I think a piece of our work is highlighting where we do have childcare so that people can find it, working with entrepreneurs to offer more childcare. And then also a piece of it is working with the state so that we're removing barriers for both families and entrepreneurs to participate in the program.
Nice. And I think you alluded to this a little bit in one of your earlier answers. Are we creating a pathway from those, like the daycares that are open up in our neighborhoods, to BPS?
Yes, so that is the purpose of the Great Starts platform, so that a family who has a newborn can go on and say, where's the childcare that's near me? And part of what they can see if they look at everything that's near their neighborhood is what their future opportunities are. So you could see, this is my neighborhood school, here are the kinds of things, so that we're beginning to show families early on what their options are, and helping them navigate what is arguably a complex system.
Yeah, as a dad of a 3-year-old who still hasn't started school yet, I'm over here thinking of what's the process, and I can just imagine that's a feeling for a lot of parents that are trying to get into the system. So I'm glad to hear that there is a platform going to be created for parents to be able to navigate it all in one place. Is there an area where we, the council, can support your programming in a way? Is there anything missing, do you think?
So I think there's a couple of things. One is we invested a lot of our ARPA money in paying for credentials for people who wanted to be in childcare. That money is still available over the next couple of years, so folks who want to get their bachelor's, for example. We just did another round of investments through UMass Boston in bachelor's degrees. So if you know somebody, please send them there. If you know folks who want to open a business, please send them to us. And if you have folks in your district that are struggling figuring out how to open their child care expansion, working with ISD, we've been working a lot on how you navigate that from a child care perspective, because unlike people who develop property, they don't really do that on a regular basis, and so having someone walk them through that process is helpful.
Yeah.
So those kinds of constituents, please send to us and we can help them navigate.
Absolutely. And in regards to access and just transparency of the available UPK seats, are we doing partnerships with the community health centers to the families who may not be as involved, may not be savvy to look for this online, but maybe their primary health care doctor can say, hey, this is where you can register your child because now they're of age for UPK. Does that partnership exist between the city and the community health centers?
So I'm going to say yes, acknowledging that those kinds of partnerships can always be stronger than they are, right? So there are places in the city where those are very, very deep relationships. East Boston, for example, the social center, who is the UPK grantee, has a super deep relationship with the health center. That potentially is different than someone who is in a different part of the city. So there's the local relationship where they're sharing that information. We also, particularly now that we've launched Great Starts, are sharing all of that information not only with our health centers, but also with MGH and Children's, because a lot of our families actually receive services there. And they're using that information from their perspective of social determinants of health.
Nice. Okay. Okay, as you can see, sorry for bringing all the questions to you.
That's okay.
There's a lot of families in my district that have these questions, and I'm gonna steal a page from Councilor Santana's playbook. What's your connection with our public housing developments? Are you reaching out to those families there? What's your game plan?
Yes, so we're working deeply with BHA. We haven't worked as much with some of the state housing complexes, but we've started with BHA. And are working on two fronts. One is on a pilot to where there are family child care providers in the complex, working on outside space for them to share and play and be programmed, thinking also about the other residents. So we've been doing that at West Broadway. And then again, working with them really deeply on how do we attract residents to become family child care providers. They are neighbors of folks who might need care. And for a lot of people, that is a connection that's super helpful. So we've been looking at a couple of different developments in partnership with them. One is Commonwealth in Alston Brighton. And then really thinking about what's the set of policies that we can put in place to formalize family childcare so that as property managers at each site transition, they have that information.
Yes, that's really good to hear. I envision a future where a new development, be it BHA or any development in a square, let's say Rosendale Square, it's zoned where you can put a daycare center in the bottom or UPK center and then apartments on top.
Right. So we did work with BPDA last year before it became planning to change the zoning code. So childcare is now a right citywide. So that is the first step. The second step is really thinking about how we work with property managers so that they understand what is allowable. And some of them have written into their leases, you can't have a business. So helping them think about how they might rewrite those leases so that childcare is an allowable activity. So that is the work that we're doing right now.
Thank you, Director. I don't know how I still have time left, but with that, I'll yield my time.
Thank you. I think he does.
I do.
Yeah. Just want to acknowledge that Council President Louis Jen has joined us. Council Weber, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. I guess, Director McSwain, so I guess how close are we to our goal of providing universal pre-K?
So I think when we think about pre-K, I want to make sure that we're thinking about the pre-K we're providing in Boston Public Schools and what we're providing in the community-based setting. When we talk about that, we're talking about both pieces. For the purposes of the money, today I've only been talking about the community-based setting. So when you look at the number of 3- and 4-year-olds in both Boston Public Schools and in the community-based setting, we're at almost 5,000 young people that we're serving who are 3 and 4. There are about 8,000 3- and 4-year-olds in the city. So we're getting close, but we've still got a lot of room to grow in order to make sure that we're hitting every 3- and 4-year-old whose parent wants that care.
And so that's the sort of daycare and K0, is that?
That is 3-year-olds in a community-based setting and K0, 4-year-olds in a community-based setting and K1.
Okay. And then when you say 8,000 kids in that range, are you assuming that all of those kids, want access to this? Or is that how many people are in that group, or is
there are 10,000, and we assume about 8,000 would want it.
Okay. And so going from last year to this year, I thought I saw something like 250 more kids we expect in the next fiscal year.
Yes.
And so, I guess, do you have are we planning on adding around that much each year, or does it increase the number of new seats every year?
So the last 2 years, we've added 300 and 250. I think the year before that, we also added about 300. And that's in both sides, right? Part of what we are looking at this year is the changes in BPS. So with the BPS inclusion plan, there will be fewer 4-year-olds who are served in schools because we're adding inclusive 3-year-old classrooms. So we want to make sure that we understand what happens when you do that. And what happens when you do that in each neighborhood, because we're looking to ensure that our UPK classrooms are spread across the city in neighborhoods in ways that serve the populations in different neighborhoods, because to Councilor Pevin's comment about the number of young children in his neighborhood, it's not equally distributed. So I think the answer to your question right now is I don't know, because we're watching the data to see what happens.
Okay, and then just for my understanding, so if somebody comes into the K0 through the early intervention program, they have to be provided services. I don't know if that qualifies for K0. Is that not included in universal pre-K because they're already being provided, or there's a mandate to provide them with services? Maybe I'm...
So I'm gonna reframe your question a little bit,
Great.
or at least in my answer. Okay,
translate.
So early intervention serves children who have a developmental need until they're 2.9. Between 2.9 and 3, you get evaluated, and then at 3, the Boston Public School System is responsible for meeting your needs. We serve young people who are 3 in multiple ways. One is in a BPS classroom, and in UPK, in our community-based settings, we serve young people who have needs or an IEP for speech, PT, OT, and behavioral services. And we're in the process of piloting doing academic minutes. So sort of things like pre-academics, social skills, the kinds of things that are precursors to learning. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think I understand.
Okay.
And so, following up on your reference to Councilor Pepin, so is right now, can you say that the universal pre-K, including both parts, is provided equitably across the city based on the needs of each community, or are there soft spots where there are different neighborhoods that the need is there's more of a need to be met than in others?
I think I'd have to go back and look in the data more deeply. What I can say is generally we're serving the neighborhoods, but I will also say that Dorchester is quite large. So are we equitably serving every portion of Dorchester? I'd have to look more deeply at the data.
But if I looked at the data, you might see different numbers in each neighborhood, but there just could be a greater need, for example, in District 6 than in District 5, because we have more kids even than in Councilor Pepin's district. No, just kidding.
And you'd need to look at it in its totality. So the number of seats that are offered by Boston Public Schools, the number of seats that are offered through our UPK program, like you wouldn't just be able to look at one. You'd have to look at the total.
Okay. And last question for you, just we were at Horizons for the Homeless, and there I heard a lot about how hard it is to retain staff. So what are we doing as a city to get people to get in, to do this kind of work and to stay there?
Yeah, so a couple things. And some of that is with our operational money and some of that is with our ARPA money. As I said before, we invested about $8 million in credentials. So some of them were bachelor's degrees, but some of them were for people who wanted to be a lead teacher in a child care classroom. That's a certain set of classes that you have to take. Some of them are to get your associate's degree in early childhood. So really focusing on that for the workforce in terms of credentialing and attracting new people. The second thing that we did was we invested funds in child care programs themselves that they could use for wages, for retention bonuses, for signing bonuses, to incentivize people to stay. But we also know that salary is not the only thing that keeps you in a position, so we've been working on providing professional development, particularly around mental health. Is that for me too, or just for you?
Oh, no, you can finish. Go ahead.
Okay. So really thinking about the quality of the job. A piece of that work was also asking them for a sustainability plan so that we know that it's not just a one-time infusion, it's going to continue. But that's really a piece of the work with child care centers. And then for UPK, we do provide as part of the contract with them the amount of money that a bachelor entry-level teacher would receive at BPS.
Okay, just one quick comment, just for Chief Masso. I think this has come up with other departments and cabinets. It just when you in the response to our request for information for the next target year, it lists percentage of employees who are people of color and percentage of employees who are women, and then it lists the target for the next fiscal year. When that target's been met, it makes it look like the goal for the next year is to eliminate people of color and eliminate women, which I'm sure is not my suggestion is just to put like targets met or expectations met would I think better summarize your goal for the next year than to reduce the number of those workers. That's just from a former workers' rights attorney, I think that might be better.
I completely agree. Thank you.
I think that's a great idea, Council Weber. Council Durkin, the floor is yours.
And I have to say, I think he stole the idea from me, but, you know, who's to say? No, just kidding. Thank you so much, Director, and thank you so much, Chief, and it's very nice to meet you. To Director McSwain, wanted to ask, I know our goal is to be the most child and family-friendly city in the country. What does that mean to you, and where are we missing the mark, and where could we improve? And do you think this year's budget meets the moment for what we want to see in that respect?
So I think what it means is that this feels like a place where families are welcome. Where if I were to show up with a small child, I wouldn't feel like it wasn't somewhere I was supposed to be. From sort of that family perspective, wherever that is. But also that our services are geared towards welcoming families, helping them through barriers, so things like Great Starts where you can find childcare, things like simplifying the application process and the transition from our UPK classrooms that are external to BPS into BPS, thinking about things like childcare as a right in our zoning that says that this is a business that is welcome and that someone who's doing that business is welcome here. But also it's things like working with our cultural institutions so that their programming is appropriate for young families and young children. They aren't always. So those kinds of things I think are the things we're talking about. And for those of you who don't know yet, the other very obvious thing is that June 11th, the United Nations declared the International Day of Play, really recognizing that young children learn through play. So we're going to be celebrating on City Hall Plaza from 10 to 2. Come out and play with us. It's things like that where families feel like their presence is welcome and we're part of the community.
And I can imagine the dads on the council are going to go ahead and file that. So go ahead, in celebration of that. But just wanted to, one thing you said was in a really great format. You were talking about our cultural institutions. Who are our partners in making this a child-friendly and family-friendly city? And how do you see the roles of different sectors, philanthropy, business, and who are our partners in this work?
Sure. So one of the things that we launched last summer, and Chief Masso can actually weigh in here too, is our Connect, Learn, Explore, which is our commitment that all young people in the city of Boston should learn to ride a bike, swim, participate in the arts, grow something.
Play sports.
And play sports.
Swim.
So part of that is the chief has done an amazing job getting our pools open, getting swim lessons for all of our young people, really thinking about swim safety and really positioning that as something as a city we are responsible for. That's the Boys and Girls Club and the Y, and he's got lots of other partners. On the biking side, it's partnerships with people like Neighborhood Villages, Boston Transportation Department, which seems like a partner that maybe doesn't always partner in early childhood. Some of our foundations, so we partnered with Highland Street Foundation and a number of others, Boston Children's Hospital, to really think not only from a health and safety perspective, but also from a young children should be out there having fun perspective. And so how do we bake those things? The New England Conservatory offered music lessons. They continue to offer music lessons at Ellis Early Learning and ABCD every day over the past year for our 3 and 4-year-olds. So those are the kinds of partners we're talking about. Those are the sort of new ones. And our traditional partners have always been the Museum of Science, the Children's Museum. They're really thoughtful about the kinds of activities we build out in the community for our partners, and the MFA and others are coming along, the aquarium, in terms of how we partner together to meet the needs of young children.
And I think that's so helpful. And, representing so many institutions in my district, I can say there's other asks that either float out there or go unanswered, or just we have not connected with the right person on. I know a lot of institutions are looking to help and looking for ways to partner. So I think you can count on me as a connection point there, but just thinking through what more we can see. And Chief Masso, obviously want to let you answer that question too, if there's anything you want to add.
Not much to add. I think we've done a really good job in Stephen Chan in terms of like really expanding our network of external partners and those who are really interested in the work that we're doing. I mean, the Connect, Learn, Explore I think was a prime example of that, just in terms of either folks that had key focus areas of are really just passionate about the arts and passionate about biking, swimming, etc., which was great because it was like, okay, great. Here's how you could provide resources and support. Or folks are just holistically, supportive of all 5 key areas. We just want to, continue to support the work. But I think as of right now, I don't see any major gaps. Of course, there's always areas of, potential backing in the future. But as of right now, I think we're in conversations with the right people, and the timing, I think, is aligned as well.
Thank you so much. And wanted to also highlight the work of Mission Maine and John Winthrop School and all the work they do for early ed. How do you see our sort of more private nursery type institutions that are private offering, obviously with partnerships with the state? How do you see them sort of filling the void and gap of what we, students that may exist in the gap between what we're publicly able to provide?
So we've partnered with some of those institutions on Connect, Learn, Explore, so really thinking about what they're doing, particularly through our partnership with Highland Street Foundation on the early childhood space. In the UPK program, the seats that are external to BPS, we have a wide variety of schools who participate in that. There's independent schools, there's nonprofits, so that eligibility is open to lots of different kinds of schools. We have Catholic schools, Jewish day schools, independent schools. So I think there's a lot of different entree points. I think part of it is our ability to grow and to think about what the capacity is to manage those partnerships.
Thank you so much. And I have a couple other questions. Can I ask one more question just to, around development projects, just flagging, obviously Fenway Corners went through right as I was coming on,
Yep.
And that promised a daycare space in the Fenway. Just curious your role or how you see development as a way to play a role. And then just also adding on to that, obviously outside playground is a requirement sometimes of having a daycare or having some sort of outdoor space. Just curious if that has been waived or how you feel about that component of.
So it's not waived, but it doesn't have to be in connection. It just needs to be nearby. So I think those are the kinds of things that we're working with both the Department of Early Education and Care on, as well as our Parks Department, but also ISD when we think about, we don't have any here in Boston that I'm aware of other than on City Hall Plaza, actually right here on City Hall. I was about to say anywhere, but I do know of one. It's right up here. Any playgrounds that are on rooftops. Like in other countries, that is something that is done. So I think there's things we can think about in terms of how we have play spaces.
Wayne.
And there's another one. There you go. So we've got a couple. So is that something that we want to do in spaces where maybe there's not really great access to street level outdoor space? So one is sort of being innovative and working with property developers as they think about those things when they're building. The second thing is we are talking to the folks at the Fenway CDC about about the need for childcare, and also talking to them about family childcare as an option, so centers and family childcare.
Thank you so much. Just wanted to make sure that was touched on. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. Council President Louis Jen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you both for being here. Advisor McSwain, I don't know if I have any additional questions. I think you answered the questions that I had from the last hearing via your response to Councilor Weber regarding availability and what the need is and our ability to meet that. I have visited the Alice Early Learning Center, and it just reminded me that the earliest intervention we can make in a young person's life, especially if we're trying with the racial wealth gap, is something that we care about. Learning gaps are what we care about. It's as early as possible. And I'm wondering whether we have enough physical, I think maybe this is going along with Councilor Durkin's question, whether we have enough of a physical imprint in this city for those programs that offer early intervention. I lift this partially because the folks at the LS Learning Center are looking into like schools, for example, former schools looking into that as early learning centers. I filed a hearing order yesterday, exploring whether we can have an ordinance or do more work around requiring 100% affordable housing for former school buildings. But I didn't do that to preclude consideration for early learning centers. So just, I guess, UPK is one question when we're looking at that 1, 2-year-old model. Like, is the imprint big enough, footprint big enough there?
Yeah, I think it's probably not big enough. I mean, and because the way that we find childcare accessible, and by that I mean, 20 years ago, people would bring their children in with them to the city, to the downtown core, and then they'd go to work in their building, and then they'd take their children home, right? With COVID, a lot of people are now choosing childcare near their home, commuting into work, and then going to pick their child. So part of it is also making sure that as our trends and where we want childcare, that we're being attentive to that. Because I certainly don't want to build it in places that it isn't going to be utilized. So that's one piece. I think the second thing is we've talked a lot here today about the work that we're doing with BHA and property management on things that are already developed. But we're also talking to developers about the different kinds of spaces that they could include in their developments that would meet the needs of childcare. So there are different options. There's something as simple as the one that we just celebrated, the groundbreaking in Mattapan. That's not a huge center. It's going to serve about 30 kids. It's a storefront, and it's incredibly convenient for the community. So, how many of those do we need versus how many in people's home versus, the larger center? We're beginning to think through those. And then we also just funded, using some of our ARPA money, Nurturing Early Learning, because they are working on a pilot with the state that thinks about how you use an empty center and incubate three small centers in them and provide supports in terms of ongoing professional development and wraparound services so that those are successful, high-quality places. We're experimenting with a lot of things because it's a rapidly changing environment.
Thank you. And, I'm all about, I think that we should be paying people just wages, living wages.
Yep.
So this is not, my question isn't meant to take away from that. I'm in my friend chat, and it's all mothers of young kids, and it's lit up today about how them trying to find summer options for their kids and how expensive it is. Like, what can be done to bring costs down, right? And they're not using a voucher system, or they're just paying out of pocket, and it's a cost of a mortgage, and they all have mortgage. It's just very expensive. What is that something we think about? Like, how do we bring the cost down for families? The cost of whether it's summer programming or daycare in general for the average. Well, there's no such thing for people who are paying out of pocket, who might have the ability, but find it still very difficult.
So a lot of that is driven by the Department of Early Education and Care at the state for a couple of reasons. One is it's a highly regulated industry, and so a lot of the costs come from those regulations. They're there for important reasons, for health and safety and the needs of small children. But if you have a 1 to 8 ratio for an infant and a toddler, that makes it very expensive care. Versus when you get to 3 and 4-year-olds and it's 1 to 20. That is a piece of the cost. It is not the only piece. Another piece of the cost is the expense of our housing and our rental market here if you're going to open a business. So a piece of working with developers is thinking about how we can help our entrepreneurs with their startup costs, how we can think about some of our space grants also do rent for a while. Like, we're experimenting with what are the things that help us launch businesses to be successful. So I think, a year or two from now, we're going to need to look at all of those investments and see which ones worked, both in sustaining the business, but also providing the opportunities for lower cost. And then the last thing is the state is really working on reimbursing for folks on vouchers the entire cost of care, because the gap between what they will pay of what it costs is absorbed by the organization, who then passes it on in other ways. And Chief Masso ran one of these for a while, so have I left out anything else that I should include?
No, and I think that's the hard part. I mean, just thinking about the summer months, I mean, the organization that we ran actually provided summer programming, and so we were really intentional about that on the sliding scale. But not every organization could do that. That took a lot of fundraising efforts, and I know not every organization has the capacity or development team or an executive director who has that capacity to be able to do so. But I think on the state side is where it's going to, like, the most change has to happen in terms of, like, how it is that they're reimbursing these organizations to be able to provide these programs. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, and thank you, Senior Advisor McSwain, for all the work you do. I know when I come to you with individual constituent matters, you're always just so ready at responding, so I appreciate that. Mr. Chair, how much time do I have?
30 seconds.
No, do it, okay. I'll wait for a second round. I have a lot of questions for also returning citizens. Can I also ask whether Chief Masso is here just for Office of Returning Citizens, or are you here for the Human Services Department? General questions.
Here for Office of Returning Citizens, Human Services will be seen on May 16th.
Okay, and does that include the Office of Community Safety?
Not to my knowledge.
Oh, it doesn't? Okay.
No.
Unless you're willing to give me 6 or 7 minutes right now, I'll wait for a second round.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'll wait for a second round, because we do have public testimony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just have a few questions. One is, can you talk to me about what we're doing with helping with food insecurity for families, for young people? Are we, any initiatives?
So I think if you're talking about in an early child care setting,
Right.
in an early childhood setting, my office is not doing anything specific around food security. We're working with Boston Public Health Commission on helping our family child care programs access the state food system, helping them understand what's available to them as child care sites, how they access it, and what the value of participating in that program would bring to them, since as an individual owner, it is quite process heavy, and there's a lot of paperwork. So that's one way. Also working with them on the farm to table for family child care. A lot of centers have partnerships with urban farming, and so do farm to table, but family child care doesn't. So working with them, and then we're working with Grow Boston and the Boston Public Schools, and hopefully the BCYF, to reinvigorate our gardens so that young people can be using both our school gardens and our BCYF gardens. So I think that's the stuff that we're doing that's programmatic. We also work closely with the Boston Family Engagement Network, and those organizations are all multi-service organizations. So while they enter in around childcare and development, they also address issues of food insecurity, also for families with young children, diapers. So they do both food pantries and diaper pantries. So I think those are the ways that we touch it, but it's not deep food access work. That is the Office of Food Justice.
Thank you. And then Chief Masso and Executive Director Montgomery, you spoke briefly about the housing voucher program. How much money is allocated? And then also you guys spoke about 21 referrals, 5. Can you talk to me about what happened to the 16 that weren't granted housing? Was it just like they didn't simply find housing? Was it any barriers that they faced to make you guys probably start rethinking the program? Just wanted to hear successes and challenges.
So it's really on the side of the BHA. They've had some transition that has happened. So we've submitted. It's really about us just waiting to see what our next steps are and mitigation letters. There's just more steps that need to be taken on our end in addition to BHA end. So there is really no hold up on our end. It's more so like getting, the streamlining the process and making sure that, all T's are crossed, I's are dotted, and all that stuff. So
And how much money do you guys have allocated for housing vouchers?
It's the amount of vouchers.
yeah, we only got 50 vouchers. over
Only
the
50
year.
vouchers?
50.
50,
Yeah, 50, yeah.
Okay.
So it's just allocation of vouchers and not a dollar amount associated?
Got it.
Yeah.
And then one thing I heard from community was last year, the grants that were awarded. Can you talk to me talk to me about your review process? Is there a community review team? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, last year, I think was a learning experience for the office, and it being a new office, it having new staff as well. We also received that direct feedback in community. I met with many of those community members who had pain points directly and who have, voiced their pain points with many of you here on the council as well, just to hear directly and see what it is that we need to learn from. From then on, what we did is make sure that we incorporated other offices within the city to then be part of the review process, make sure we had a holistic, perspective of folks that we were grant funding. I think this time around, it felt much better in terms of, equitable procedure, making sure that we were able to distribute in a way that had folks feeling seen and heard. And we offered, multiple opportunities as well. As I mentioned, we had the health and wellness grant opportunities. So for those organizations specifically focused on that, the RCS, returning citizen grant opportunity, those folks, offering the holistic list that I went through earlier as well. And then, of course, the other set aside, the rapid rehousing that I had also mentioned earlier too, whatever. So I think there were buckets that we could then identify clearly, these organizations that are in this space.
Awesome. I would just want to advocate for a community member to be on that review committee. I think I've seen that done in other review committees, and I think it will be just helpful for the community to understand that there's someone from, the community there.
Yeah, heard.
I know we had Operation Exit, which winded down during the pandemic. Any thoughts on the success bringing back that program? Operation Exit was, the pathway for returning citizens to get jobs in the trades. Any thought of bringing that back, restarting it?
Not on our end. This past year, it was actually underneath community safety, run by Dr. Isaac Yablo. So I honestly would defer to him to, explain, what his thoughts are. However, as, Director Montgomery had shared earlier, the work that we're doing internally at the ORC for employment support. And so, bringing on employment specialists, really figuring out the pathways and the partnerships that we need to build to make sure that actually those that are returning home have these opportunities as well. So I think we're thinking more along the lines of what is our internal programming and resource offerings, and what else can we do externally as well with some other organizations to be able to fill in the gap. That in particular I can't speak to.
Got it. And going back to you, Director, the Space Grant, great program. I see that we do have some child cares taking advantage of it. Is that because of your collaboration, you getting the word out and around the Space Grant to our child care providers?
Yeah, I think it's two things. One is that childcare was a priority, for which I thank the office. But the second is that we hosted an evening town hall, which we do on a number of different topics, but we hosted that for the small business group to come and explain the opportunity, answer people's questions. It helped people understand whether it was the right opportunity for them or whether it was not the right opportunity for them. And so I think that's part of the reason it's been so successful, and I'm hoping we can
Get
do so
more.
in round 3.
Yes, I'm hoping we get more. I do agree with that. And then lastly, just on the workforce development side, do you guys have an entrepreneurial program? Because I know not everyone wants to go back to work, right?
Yeah, we do. It's actually currently in session. It started March 12th. It's ramping up on May 15th, I believe, but we're working with First Step Alliance, and they're providing a workshop for people that are interested in entrepreneurship. And at the end of the program, they do refer individuals to the Fountain Fund, which now has a Boston site office in order to get some funding to start up a business.
Thank you. And now we'll move to public testimony. When your name is called, please come down to one of the two podiums, state your name, neighborhood, and/or organization affiliation. Please speak into the microphone, and please keep your comments to 2 minutes. Rachel Rodriguez, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Chairman Worrell and members of this Ways and Means Committee. Just wanted to introduce Rachel. My name's Pace, and for the record, I'm the policy manager at the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute. And we're going to preface our remarks today based off of, or in regards to human services spending here in the city of Boston, based off of the information on the website. But we're also happy to return and continue the conversation if human services will be discussed on a later date. The Louis D. Brown Peace Institute is a Boston-based organization dedicated to providing peace and support to families and communities in the aftermath of homicide impacted by murder, trauma, grief, and loss. The Peace Institute was founded by Clementina Sherry, the mother of Louis D. Brown, 15-year-old son who was tragically killed by a fatal gunfire and crossfire in 1993. For nearly 3 decades, the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute has served as the cornerstone of the City of Boston's homicide response. Beginning in 1996, the City of Boston, Boston Police Department, and other local government agencies began referring families to the Peace Institute to support with services in the aftermath of a homicide. The Peace Institute has since then risen to the occasion and met that need with great strength and vision, and in partnership with city departments and city programs. The human service needs of survivors of homicide victims has recently been exacerbated by intersecting public health issues, including COVID-19 pandemic, and by ongoing rise of violence in the city of Boston. For this reason, we call upon the city of Boston to better meet these needs by increasing the budget allotted to the Peace Institute, the organization the city of Boston relies on so heavily when it comes to homicide response. We shared in detail more about that request to the council this morning via email, and happy to provide a hard copy today as well. But across city government, we are requesting a 3-year commitment of $1 million annually to the Peace Institute, $500,000 of that allotment coming from the Office of Human Services.
Thank you, Pace. Again, Rachel, I'm co-executive director with the Peace Institute. I've been with the organization for about 18 years now. As we have for 3 decades, the Peace Institute seeks to collaborate with the City of Boston to support families and communities impacted by murder, trauma, grief, and loss. To that end, again, we're here to talk about how the Office of Human Services can support that work by allocating $500,000 to the Peace Institute. We respectfully ask the City Council to amend the mayor's budget to include that allocation. This $500,000 would include aid to survivors in meeting the unfolding needs that often present in the aftermath of a homicide. This funding could provide safety relocation, which is often an immediate need for families, and also continued stabilization support with utility assistance, rent, food, and more. So this would be part of that request. And overall, this is part of the Peace Institute Survivor Outreach Services, which provides emotional and practical support for families. We usually work starting within the first 24 to 72 hours after a homicide happens. We are referred to by the city agencies, by the Boston Police Department, all of the area hospitals, district attorney's office. We work closely with the council, many of you here, and all of the city agencies. And these survivor outreach services really focus on supporting families through that burial process, the memorial services, and also just crisis stabilization with some of those things that I named. The outreach services continue to support families with ongoing case management, wraparound care, helping families navigate housing, court, mental health care, other needs that arise after homicide happens. I do want to note that the Peace Institute has applied and received grants from the Office of Returning Citizens for our reentry work that we're doing. Currently, the City of Boston contributes only about 8% of what it costs the Peace Institute to provide these services to families whose loved ones have died due to homicide, suicide, overdose, and through the years, COVID as well. Mayor Wu has publicly stated that the Peace Institute is part of the infrastructure of the City of Boston's homicide response, and we're respectfully asking for funding to support that reflects that reality. I just want to thank everybody for your time, and as Pace said, we've submitted some more information in writing this morning. I'm happy to talk about this budget request for FY25, which is $1 million overall, with $500,000 potentially in the Office of Human Service budget. Our desire is to work with all of you here to be creative, to think about where this fits best. So we're here to have conversation and answer any questions here or ongoing. Thank you.
Thank you, Pace and Rachel, and appreciate all the work and the service that the Peace Institute gives to the community in the City of Boston.
Thank you.
Now I'll go back to my council colleagues. Council Fernandez-Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council Pippin was just taking up all the time. Chief Masso, there's a decrease in personnel services in the Office of Returning Citizens by $50,000. Can you tell me, did we lose a staff? Like, what happened? Is that a part-time staff somewhere?
No, that actually was an overestimation that was had last year's fiscal budget. And so that's recalibrating for what the actual cost would be.
Okay. And I guess same for contractual services, there's like 1.18 million, 136. And the decrease there, it's only like $12. I mean, $12,000.
So from last year to this year, you're saying, or?
Yes. There just seems to be like consistently decreasing when the need needs to go up. Did you make a was this your recommendation?
No, I think it was based on, I see where it is, you're saying, just actual spending and just seeing if we could actually, for that particular one, as Director Montgomery had stated, the hopes is to reallocate some of that funding for an expansion in direct services, so for case manager. So it's just repurposing some of the funding. And so that was where it is you see the decrease for the contracted services.
Oh, I see. But there's no increase in the personnel.
The personnel piece, as I mentioned, was what was allocated last year. I think was off as far as estimations were off in that particular line. There was some transition throughout the year, and I think that's where it is that we landed more accurately.
Okay. What I'm saying is there's no reallocation anywhere because there's no money going up.
Understood.
But you mentioned that there was a reallocation from contractual to personnel?
That was the hope, correct.
Oh, I see, but it did not take place. Got it now, thank you. In terms of your contract, what do we contract Field States LLC for? For $109,413.
Can you repeat the name, please?
Field States LLC. I looked them up. Couldn't really. Oh yes, they do like strategic athletics, space stuff. It doesn't really say much. To discovery, design, and strategy to take the seed of the big idea and validate articulate stories, mapping systems, designing prototypes.
Is this for Office of Returning Citizens?
It's listed under your cabinet for your contracts.
Maybe a contract through Youth and Schools for a contracted service for a consultant for youth sports.
Athletics capacity, yeah. So what is it for?
I believe in the mayor's effort to uplift youth sports. There was some allocation of funding to be able to contract a consultant to support Rebecca Granger in her work and really trying to really clearly define what the needs were, the landscape analysis for youth sports across the city.
So it makes sense, thank you.
Yeah.
And I guess Outfront Media 3 times, each time $49,000 from September, April, then I guess, estimated for June as well, 2024.
So 2 of those are mine. Outfront Media is the group that has the sole contract with the MBTA to put up ads in the MBTA and on the, I don't know what they're called.
Display board?
The display boards and also at the commuter rail, the big billboards. So one round was the campaign for letting people know that they could get a free childcare credential. And then the second one has been the one for Great Starts. Both, you probably see 2 different ads. One is about finding childcare and one is about finding UPK. That's in the same contract. So those are both the Office of Early Childhood. I don't
Is
know.
Mass Audubon also yours?
Yes, that is the farm to table contract. It's been funded through Boston Children's Hospital grant.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then United Way provided some childcare for us, or?
Yes, so the United Way has a contract to do 2 different things. One is to recruit and train new entrepreneurs in English and in Spanish who want to open up a family childcare. So they train them in what the different aspects are and also help them with the licensing process.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You'll hear me say thank you once I get it, because I have.
You're like, you got more questions. I understand.
This guy's gonna time me. I'm really. What's that? You tired today?
No, I'm not.
I'm really happy about the increase in MBEs from 22 to 23, FY 22 to 23. But it seemed like we're stagnant there, and there's been no increase in the last year. We're at 14% MBEs, and that's awesome. Could you tell me sort of like what's the challenge, what's the hurdle there with reaching our quota?
Don't have those numbers in front of me, but I could definitely follow up with you and definitely let you know. I don't anticipate there's any hurdles, I think, just in terms of what the opportunities may be across the entire budget, but I could definitely follow up with you.
Okay, thank you. These are in your RFI's response, by the way. It's for easy access for you. And so in Alston Brighton, there's a remaining amount of $953,690. I don't read numbers well. $963,690 for Alston Brighton community space. So what happens to the funds now? It says it's remaining.
There's a great opportunity to be able to ask that same question on Tuesday. I'm not deflecting at all, but that's with underneath Boston Center's Youth and Families.
I see. Thank you. It's ARPA funds, so I guess we gotta spend it soon.
Yes.
All right. So there were like different decreases in terms of from FY24 to FY25 in terms of your overall budget. Could you just give me like a general overview of why your funds are going down close to over $3 million?
Yeah, the largest was the $4 million that Kristen had talked about for UPK.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's the most significant decrease that you'll notice.
Okay, and then obviously you picked up in other areas supplemental because it's less than $4 million. Okay.
Correct.
I guess what can we do in your opinion? And I've asked this of all chiefs in terms of like your recommendations with OBM for budget, and then you make recommendations, and ultimately this is the mayor's budget, but and then we're trying to figure out where the pieces fall and support you as much as possible to continue to do your work, the amazing work that you guys do. But in terms of returning citizens, now that ARPA is done, like we know that this is like one of the most vulnerable populations in our city. What can we do, or what initiatives or enhancements do you think you can make or are working on currently in order to bring in more contractual funds?
I think my guesstimate would be, as of right now, honestly, Ashley and our team are doing in terms of hiring, the vacant positions, that's key. The office, as I mentioned, over the past 2 years has grown exponentially, right? It really just has just the amount of staff, the amount of funding and support. I think we're in a place now underneath, strong leadership and a strong team to now execute on the dollar amounts that have already been allocated. And so I think, the mayor has done a tremendous job in being able to support this office. And what we have in front of us, I think it's time now to show improve, focus on data collection, focus on execution, focusing on, as Councilor Worrell mentioned, in terms of the dissemination of incorporating community members into the thought process and how it is we getting the grant funding out there as well. So I think continue to grow on the work that we're doing already. With more focus is the area that we're focused on. And so your support has been great to get us to this point, and I think it's our job now to bring it to the next level.
Any philanthropic interest?
Are there? Yes.
But what is it, capacity to handle the funds, or?
Correct, and more so what we're doing is introducing them directly to organizations that could use better support.
Okay. I'd like to talk to you, offline at some point. So I helped the community build a community fund in D7, and they've negotiated, or I should say, they have a lot of donations from developments that are coming in. Boston Foundation gave them seed money through my support. And at this point, they're just going after like federal dollars and funds specifically for D7. And since we do suffer from the highest recidivism rates in Boston, particularly Roxbury, just conversations about how can maybe they can partner with the Office of Returning Citizens and create a specific grant for that population to work with the office, or for organizations that work with the office.
Yeah, we'd love to have that conversation.
Okay. I feel like it's going to buzz, and it's very traumatic when you have like 20 more questions and the buzzer goes off.
We could have a third round, Council Fernandez Anderson.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I've lost my space. Councilor Durkin, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I am thinking about the opportunity gap and everything that Boston is doing to cut the opportunity gap. But I know there are specific challenges. There are things that we can't always control. There are, as my colleague always says, social determinants of health. And I think it's really important that while we can't control everything in a child's life, we can try to set the playing field in a way that promotes closing that gap. And I'm just curious if there are things sort of outside of your jurisdiction that are within the city's domain that we could be supporting and helping with, that would help you do your work better, Director.
So I think that there are probably always things that we can do better. But I know that we've already built some really strong partnerships with the Boston Public Health Commission. We have a strong relationship with Parks and Recreation. We have a great relationship with BCYF. So I think that those are places that we're starting to work together more closely, program together more deeply, and making sure that we're aligning and then amplifying all of our efforts. I think that a piece of it, when you're doing the work, you're just convinced that everybody else knows about the good work you're doing. So I do think that the role that the council plays in talking to constituents on a regular basis about the kinds of things that are happening in your district, that's super helpful, but also doing it in the other direction and letting us know when things aren't going well. Councilor Louis-Jean talked about the constituents that she has, that she sends to us to help. That both helps the individual, but also helps us identify where our system may not be working well. So, I think there's so much we could do that those two places are places that, for me, starting is really meaningful.
And, a huge priority of mine has been on the council mental health, because it was really shaped by my experience. My dad is mentally ill, and one thing that has really struck me about thinking about my life, and a couple of us were just with Sophie Trudeau, who has a new book coming out that talks about mental health and talks about social connection. And one thing the reason I focused on this so much is, social connection and mental health. They're all things that that training we can provide to parents. And I'm just curious, sort of, in addition to knowing how to swim and grow things and bike, how we're looping in mental health into the conversation of sort of the training we're both offering parents and the little ones about how they can talk about their mental health.
So there's two different answers I would give you. One is that all of those activities are very purposeful because none of them require a cell phone. And to your point, a huge piece of what we're seeing in mental health, particularly in very young children, and by very young I mean 2 to 5, is that they're spending more time on sort of apps that parents think are good educational apps, instead of engaging in the kinds of play that create those personal interrelationships that you just spoke about. So that's definitely one piece that we're really focused on and focused on deeply, because everybody can do that.
And so maybe the physical activity is the mental health, and that's part of it.
Correct. All of those things are things that lead to that. I think secondly, though, there is a piece of work that needs to be done with our early childhood professionals. We were lucky enough to receive a line item from the state for mental health training for our early child care providers, and it helps them get their infant mental health endorsement. We have far too many children under the age of 5 who are expelled and suspended from childcare, and so how we help professionals navigate that so that kids can be in spaces where they're building relationships and learning with their peers is really important. So those are sort of the two ways that we've been focused on it. I will tell you that all the pediatricians we've been talking to lately are really concerned about the number of children that they find to be, and this is their word, addicted to screens. And so I think there's probably something that you will see from us in the near future around talking to parents about good screen use and maybe limiting screen use.
Thank you so much. And those are all things that we can partner with BPHC to talk about. And, my niece was one of those children who really had problems at daycare, and my older sister was really trying to figure it out. And it turns out she had was undiagnosed with autism. And I think a lot of those things, it's like they're signs of struggle, and they're signs of having struggle assimilating to some cultures that, and what we've learned is like headphones and different ways of, she's a wonderful, smart, precocious, incredible child, but having access to the right conditions has made all the difference. And I'm really grateful for your leadership. I'm grateful for the fact that you're bringing your leadership and to Boston and everything that you've done with your background in community service. And I think we just have a really good team on the city side that is approaching these issues with so much fortitude, and I'm really grateful to our mayor. I think being a mom just sets you apart, right, in the way that you think about things. And, as someone who thinks about these issues, like not having a child, my constituents really center me, and the price of childcare ballooning is really impacting people. They're finding me everywhere I am and saying, I'm choosing, there are women who are doing great in their careers who are choosing not to work because $40,000, $50,000 a year is only, they would only make a little more than that, and they just feel like they're at their wits' end. And I just thank you I feel like you've opened up a window of hope, but there's still so much more to do, and it can feel really exhausting for our constituents.
Yes, and we will continue to focus on that.
Thank you so much.
Exhausting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Louis Jen, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Chair. I said that my questions for Office of Returning Citizens, and they are, but I do have one more question for you. Senior Advisor McSwain, and I ended by complimenting you whenever I have a constituent question. My office just got an incoming constituent question that I think that you may be able to answer. It may be BPS, but it's from a city employee who recently found out that the Nathan Hale School has gone from having a K1 classroom to having a combined K0 to K1 classroom, which means instead of there being 20 open spots for incoming K1 students, there are now 9 according to the 24, 25. And she's very much not happy about that because...
So this is a piece of what I was mentioning to Counselor Weber earlier. As part of the BPS inclusion plan, and in order to meet the increasing needs of our young people who are 3 who have disabilities, in as many classrooms as possible, but definitely in schools where they haven't previously had a K0, K1 inclusion classroom, BPS, that's part of the inclusion plan, and it's been part of their rollout for this year. And I think in some places, perhaps the principals haven't shared that information as early with families as in others, because I too have heard this in the last couple of days. And I think it's just a lag for some reason in the communication change. But those changes are so that our 3-year-olds who need an inclusion classroom will have the ability to access one. And the reason the number of seats has shrunk is both the inclusion of the 3-year-olds, but also that an inclusion classroom has a smaller number of students.
Okay. I believe that this was also to occur at the Kennedy School, but then a decision was made to switch
I think that is that specific issue you'd have to ask BPS about. I can just speak to the overall policy because I've been following that closely. Because for the UPK seats that are outside of BPS, we want to make sure. Previously, we've had some additional 4-year-old seats that weren't filled because the kids went to BPS. We want to make sure as some of the BPS seats are shrinking that there are spaces for them in the community-based setting.
Okay. I will follow up with you. Because I mean, this is a constant BPS. I think it's just like this communication was not made. And
I
therefore
think that might be a
they
change in principle at that school. So we should definitely follow up.
Okay.
I brought it to the attention of the district superintendent the other day. So I think they're on top of that.
Okay, so hopefully we'll be able to find some solution for this family who is a city employee. Okay, thank you. My remaining questions are for, I'm good?
You're good, yeah.
Okay, great. For Office of Returning Citizens, I care deeply about this office. I will attend the Second Chance celebration. Today's Thursday, I think Tuesday. It was really, really lovely. I'm really glad that really it was because of the work of formerly incarcerated folks themselves, Greater Boston Interfaith Organization, that propelled me to work in partnership with them to get the budget for this office doubled and to get the capacity to get to be able to make grants. I do have some questions about the structure of the office right now. The office recently increased its staff by hiring specialists in housing and employment, which we're happy about and that we were able to do because of the dedication to this office. But we know that it looks like there are a few vacancies. Ashley, it was a pleasure meeting you the other day.
Pleasure meeting you as well.
Yeah, you were interim, but it looks like there's no chief of staff, policy director, or communications specialist. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's 3. So that's 3 vacancies in those positions, right?
Correct.
Okay. What are we doing to fill those? How has that impacted the ability of the office to be able to run efficiently?
So the community engagement specialist was a repurposed position. It is currently posted. We have had first and second rounder interviews. So we're in the process of for the community engagement specialist role.
Okay.
It was previously an intake specialist that we repurposed just to make our presence more in the communities. So that is in the process of, we're in the hiring process of that role. The director of policy and planning is also on the website currently, but it's on the website, but it's in comping class. It's currently in comping class to be repurposed to director of programming and policy. So that is kind of in the works as well, but it is currently posted in phases of us trying to get that backfilled as well.
And can you tell me about the focus on trying to ensure that formerly incarcerated folks themselves are included or that we're doing outreach to have them take on some of these work?
Yeah, for sure. So with the director position, because we're still in comp and class, we haven't really advertised it. But when we first put out the community engagement specialist position, we did send it out to our network. We did actually have a few returning citizens apply to that role.
Awesome. Okay. Would like to see the office in full swing, operational.
Trust me, me too.
Yeah. Okay. Because there's so much potential. In fiscal year 24, the office launched several initiatives like the Rapid Rehousing Program and Health and Wellness Grants using ARPA funds. Could you detail how these funds were specifically allocated among the programs and what portion of these allocations have been spent to date?
So for the health and wellness grant, I think we spent that down completely, correct? So that's been spent down completely. In addition to the RCS grant has been spent down completely. The ARPA grant, we've already distributed 50% of the funds. Additional 30% will be spent down by the end of June, and then additional 20% will be spent down by January of 2025.
Thank you. And I know that the ORC last year, we had a lot of conversations about it, and Councilor Worrell the chair asked questions about it as well. There were a lot of organizations that were able to get grants, probably in the 10, if I'm remembering correctly, 10 to 25 range, and a few got $50,000 grants. Is there a capacity or thought at all to being able to give out more mid-sized grants? I think about Breeze House, that Justice for Housing is really trying to build out, and how sometimes in these organizations, larger grants, it's helpful. I know we have the anti-aid amendment for some of the work that some of the organizations want to do, but to the extent that we're able to help with capacity building, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think the funding that we received for this fiscal year, the ARPA funding and rapid rehousing, was able to actually help mitigate some of that. So for the $1.1 million that we received in total, there was 3 organizations. So Dorchester Bay, Charlestown Adult Education, and Justice for Housing. And so they were really able to receive substantial grant allocations, and Justice for Housing in particular,
Via ARPA, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Leslie.
so, yep, 100%. And then the even though it hit this fiscal year, it was from last fiscal year, the SROs as well to support Breeze House directly. And so that was,
How
again,
much was that?
$200,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, that on top of with the ARPA money that was received, it's a substantial amount that I think out of all the organizations, they were able to receive the most throughout the fiscal years. And then for the RCS, which was the grant opportunity that we provided last year, and as I explained to the chair, we learned from our pain points, we learned from our mistakes, and had a way better process this time around. And so I think we're able to, cast a wider net. I think we've received way more applications than we did last year, but then the way that we were able to distribute the grant opportunities were felt differently, felt much better. And so $700,000 in total, that's including both the RCS and the health and wellness. The health and wellness specifically was $204,000, RCS was $500,000, and we had a pot of money left over that we're actually going to get out the door before the end of this fiscal year, and so that's about $80,000 to $100,000.
What was that last one?
We have a small pot of it's RCS mini grants, and so it's roughly about $80,000 to $100,000 that we have left for this fiscal year that we're going to actually be able to allocate to organizations that reapplied.
That reapplied?
Yeah, that we're able to reapply for that small mini grant opportunities. So again, roughly about $800,000 in total, not including the rapid rehousing money.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Do I have time for additional questions? Yeah, I have the floor. Thank you. I think this question may have been asked and answered, but how many people have been, since the Housing Voucher Program launched in partnership with BHA, how many people have been housed?
So we started in January to distribute vouchers. So far, 5 people have received a voucher. We have 21 referrals that are still waiting to receive vouchers. There was 21 referrals. Out of those 21 referrals, 5 have received vouchers. Sorry about that. And we're just working with BHA to work through that. And then we're also helping with finding those 5 individuals housing as they work with their case manager, in addition to the housing specialist.
Case manager who is?
It depends on who referred the individual, the client. So we have 3 case managers. There's they then refer a client to our housing specialist, who then works on the voucher.
Okay, but you're talking about internal folks in terms of.
Yes, correct. I'm sorry.
And this is also the first time, I think, that the ORC is engaged in sort of the voucher use and placement rather than working with an outside organization that's doing it.
Correct. I just started, but correct.
Yeah. There's a lot of great things that come from that, and then there are some sort of territorial issues, frankly, that arise as a result of people feel like this is my domain and the city isn't. So can you talk about that and the challenges sort of in placing people and finding housing for folks?
Yeah, I mean, just for the territorial issues, I mean, completely understood. I think the need,
And Chief, we've talked about this.
100%, and just to reiterate, like exactly, like the need, the demand far outweighs the supply, right? It just really does. And I think from both the city, state, federal level, like there just has to be additional support, and we recognize that. However, and as I shared with you, I do believe the city has a very important role to play in this, right? And just seeing how there are other city agencies that we're working closely with, I think there is a need internally for us to be able to provide, present a role within this as well. And so I think, again, this is new for the office. This is new to our work. To the question about the challenges, we do have, you know, at the time, at the current moment, we have one housing specialist. So to be able to, you know, support what it is that she's doing, for her to be able to navigate what the challenges are, and just the wraparound supports for, you know, our clients as well overall, I think that's something that we're learning in real time. But I think Ashley and the case managers and the housing specialists have done a phenomenal job. Our housing specialist, Sandy, is just tremendous. Hopefully you got a chance
I
to
met
meet
her. She
on
sent me
Tuesday.
the best, this nicest email.
She's amazing. She is amazing, and just a credit to like her dedication and passion to this work, and just shared like we
She's also
got.
Haitian. She's also
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, but
She is.
so just but nonetheless, just tremendous. And so I think again, it's really figuring out how does that we best support the office, how we best support her and her role. Where are the gaps, and if it's not us, who's going to be able to fill the gaps? And we know there's existing organizations outside of us who have been doing this for quite some time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's not a zero-sum game. We can all win.
Correct.
And the city does have a role, and we need to support organizations that are doing this, especially ones that are run by women of color who are formerly incarcerated, period.
Absolutely.
Like, we need to be sent to them. That's why these grants are so important. So many of these organizations have never received any money from the city, have never been recognized, and we know that money from the city also gives you a sense of, like, validation, like that you are doing the thing. So that's important. I did dovetailing off of that. How does the office sort of measure the success of the grants awarded? How do you know, like, we gave them a grant, maybe we don't want to give them a grant this year, or we didn't give them enough, we want to give them more? How do you measure that? Are there specific metrics or outcomes that have shown that these initiatives are effective in addressing the various needs of returning citizens?
Yeah. That is a phenomenal question. I'm going to pass it to Ashley just because, I mean, just even through our interview process, she was asking these specific questions. And we recognize our first year, and you recognize the timing. We got the grants out the door way too late in response to what the needs were from the organizations, and weren't able to fully capture the data points that we needed to. This time around, somewhat in terms of from the point of how many returning citizens served, and, you know, Ashley and team are now focused on, okay, what are the outcomes? You know, what is that we're measuring? How do we measure efficacy? How do we measure success in these spaces to really make sure that these organizations that are receiving these dollars are doing exactly what's needed? Yeah, and so I mean, if you want to talk to what your goal and focuses are there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're trying to be more intentional about the data that we're collecting, which we haven't done in the past, right? And so as some of the, you know, the next reporting period for our RCS grant and our health wellness grant will be in July. So we're going to be really intentional about the impact reporting that we have people submitting back to us so that we can kind of provide the accurate numbers of who they're serving, how they're serving, what they're doing to ensure that people are getting the resources that they need.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly important, especially with these organizations. So many of them are very grassroots, right? And like,
Correct.
It's not their fault, right? Like, there's systemic barriers, there's structural racism, there's how we grant, it's like who you know, the social capital that you do and don't have, especially if you're just coming home. And we can still hold them to measures of effectiveness. So I want us to be able
agree.
to, like,
No, I come from data, so I agree.
Yeah, okay.
For sure.
Great. For fiscal year 25, the office plans to implement a case management tool to track client progress more effectively. I think this is dovetailed. What are the expected capabilities of this tool precisely, and how will it improve the current system?
So our current system needs to be improved vastly, right? And so we did try to procure Apricot and ran into some roadblocks, so we're still looking to procure another system.
Another software system.
Yeah, another software system in order to effectively, to what we were just talking about, look at the data points of who are the clients that we're serving and what are the outcome measures of the clients that we're actually serving, whether they're housed, employed, you know, what are the support services that they're receiving. So that is what we're really looking to utilize as we procure a new case management system.
Thank you. I think I've asked this question. Okay. It looks like, and I think Councilor Fernandez may have alluded to this, there's a decrease in the budget. Why? I want you to be funded and to grow.
And we are. And I mean, the gap was, as I mentioned, it was a recalibration of what we expected for this fiscal year, for current fiscal year, and what the actual would be for next fiscal year. And so that's where you'll see like the slight difference of, what is it, like either 2 to 5% in the total permanent employees. The contracted services, as I mentioned, and I'll dig a little bit deeper, and I could definitely get this information for both you and Councilor Fernandez. The understanding was a request to reallocate and so repurpose. And so again, that still may have happened, and you still may have seen a decrease based on the recalibration, right? It just, when you do it on the highest end, how much you possibly need, now that we actually have folks in positions, now that we actually have some of the positions filled, now that even with the vacancies, this is the actual number that we need for the next fiscal year.
Thank you. And then I can't remember who asked it as well, but I'd love to think about, or for you all to be thinking about, it sounds like you are, like the role of philanthropy and helping to build up the office and what you're able to do. Why I don't want to see a decrease. Of course, there are people who don't, there's so many departments where you don't want to see a decrease, but there's so much need. And, now that I'm out, people know that I've been doing this work and championing it, we didn't get this grant, I didn't get this grant, I didn't get this money, I'm trying to do this for the kids, I'm trying to do that. And they don't really have a lot of places to go because they don't have that connection to philanthropy. So I'd love to see sort of that grow out of your office, sort of helping these organizations build the social capital that they don't have. Anti-aid amendment, okay.
Yeah.
But the social capital of the city, the social capital of our power, help connect people to grants that maybe we have capacity limits, but how do we help them build, right? It's the same way that we think about, in the Office of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion, technical assistance, capacity building, how are we helping people do that? And I think the work that they do, right? Who is going to help people from stopping, who is going to prevent recidivism better than somebody who's been there before?
1,000%. So 2 things I'll share. I think one, and we'll share this more on the 16th, the Office of Human Services, what we did with our Youth Development Fund was exactly that, because we received the same response of there's, more grassroots organizations that don't have the capacity. And so we set up a training mechanism for those organizations to go through a monthly training, like a cohort, and where they'll actually graduate in June. And I'll definitely provide more information around that, but exactly to be able to learn these skills, to expand their network, to learn from one another and learn from professionals in the space as well. So these are the ones that received, less than 10,000. And again, what do you need to be able to go beyond that? And so we were really intentional about that. So I'll share that because I think it's a model that really works.
And it's a model that y'all are going to do here.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And the second thing is, and you might have seen an example on Tuesday, being really intentional of who we're inviting to our space. And so they were philanthropists who were in the space for the celebration, who again can network directly with organizational leaders, right? And so they have FaceTime, oh, have you met so-and-so? Here you go. You know what I mean? So we were really intentional about who we have in that space. And as you mentioned, it was a really vibrant event. It was really positive, and folks really felt seen and heard and uplifted. And having those people in that space was for that intention. We had folks from all areas of Boston who have access to capital that could work directly with these organizations. And that was done by intention.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Chief. Thanks for that intentionality. Thanks for answering my question. That event was really beautiful. Shout out to NetCat. The food was also amazing. And I also just want to lift up not only Rupert Saunders, who may he rest in peace, Bob Turner, fresh city councilor, trying to carry this mandate that I committed to during my campaign of supporting this office, sitting down in dry dock with them, really helped to give me the vision in my office, right? Everyone in my office, we care deeply about the success of this office, about the success of folks coming home, about how we do the work of prevention on the front end to prevent people from ever going in. So whatever you all need to help build the capacity, to help be a thought partner in how to bring out the best in this office, and how to meet the needs of our returning citizens, we're happy to meet you there.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you to all my council colleagues. Thank you to the panel. Thank you to central staff, my team, also the BPD. Keep up the great work, guys. And this hearing on dockets number 0670 through 0678 is adjourned.